Why do you think it has been so hard for some people now to still accept that neutrality is not enough?
Neutrality is not enough. I'm not making this up, guys. Neutrality is not enough. Absolutely.
When it comes to racism?
I think because it takes a lot of work to be anti-racist. It takes, you have to be very vulnerable, right? You have to be willing to admit that you were wrong. You have to be willing to admit that if you have more, if you're white, for instance, and you have more, it may not be because you are more. You have to admit that, yeah, you've worked hard potentially in your life, but you've also had certain advantages, which provided you with opportunities that other people did not have.
So how do you think that's going to go across if I want to change these policies? I want to change these policies. And many of the people who are going to help me, my allies in changing these policies, many of them, not all, but many of them are going to be wealthy white people. So I go to you and I say, hey, wealthy white guy, I would like to change the policies. You should admit first, before we do that you're guilty, that you're a racist. And because you have a lot of things, it really wasn't because of you. It's because you were white. You had some advantages. Otherwise, everybody else would be just as powerful as you. So admit that first, then help me change these policies. Maybe it's me. I think that's not going to go over well, particularly when what you've just said is, if you admit racism, you've linked me directly to slaveholders. Not sure that's going to go over well. Now, if you want to have this kind of academic conversation, 3 PhDs in a classroom in a university, I'm in. Let's have that academic conversation on what is racist and not. I'm fine with that. Let's walk down that road. But if you're telling me you want to tell an average person, oh, by the way, you're white and you have stuff, you don't deserve it. Because that's what you just said. You may go, Larry, I made a nuance you might not have. How in the world do you expect anyone who is white and successful to not be offended by that? Let me go further. How about literally the tens of millions of poor white folk in this country? I know many of them who are not wealthy, middle class, or even lower class, who are hurting, low socioeconomic class, who are hurting. And now you're going to tell them, wow, you guys, look at your privilege. Well, they can't pay their rent. How is that going to go over? It's not. While there are certain things you're saying that are right on the money and true, your methodology is severely flawed, and you should know this is not going to work. It's going to alienate, divide, and just cause more harm.